Hi, I'm Tracey Ramsey, and I'm running for the NDP in Essex, where we are on the traditional territories of the Three Fires Confederacy, the Odawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi peoples. I'm here today because people in Essex County can't find affordable housing, and they need someone to fight for them. I'm hearing at the doors every day how unhappy people in Essex are with the Liberals, and housing is part of that anger. Our housing costs in Windsor, Essex have gone from an average of 200,000 to 542,000 in just 6 years under the Liberals. Sadly, Conservatives have also turned their backs on working families and young people who are struggling to put a roof over their heads. Jagmeet Singh and New Democrats are different. Jagmeet is focused on getting results for Canadians. He's fighting for the support that people need now, and New Democrats are winning results, getting more help to more people faster. That's why I'm excited to be here today and to introduce a fearless leader and a leader that has the courage to fight for better. Please join me in welcoming our next Prime Minister of Canada, Jagmeet Singh.
Thank you so much, Tracey. And Tracey, you have been such a fierce fighter for people. I've had the honor of working with you. I want to see you back in Ottawa. I know the people of Essex will be so well served with you, fighting for them with your background in the labor movement, your background for workers. It's going to be incredible to have you fighting for them again. And Tracey, you've outlined something that is truly a major concern, probably one of the biggest concerns I hear from Canadians, and I heard from Canadians before the pandemic, and it's only gotten worse during the pandemic, and that's the housing crisis. We've seen over the past 6 years of Justin Trudeau being in power, it's only gotten worse. And people cannot find a home that's in their budget. People are struggling across the country. And I know in the Windsor-Essex region, it's no different. People who've got good jobs are struggling, people with low income, people with no income. Everyone is struggling to find something that's in their budget. But I want folks to know it doesn't have to be this way. But before we get to some of the solutions, I want someone to share a personal story. And so we've got Dr. Amanda O'Brien here, who's going to talk about what it's been like for her, the struggle that she's gone through, and how her struggle is a lot like so many others. So Dr. Amanda O'Brien, thank you for joining us. And please, the mic is yours. Share a little bit about what it's been like for you and what your struggle has been with housing and some of your journey.
Thank you, Jagmeet, for that warm introduction, and thank you to Tracey for reaching out to me to speak about the housing affordability crisis here in Essex and across Canada. As I was born and raised in the Lakeshore area of Essex County to a family of auto workers. So thanks to good paying full-time jobs with a strong union, I was very fortunate to grow up with stable housing and plenty of privilege as a 90s kid. And so I did exactly what my generation was told to do. I worked hard at school, work hard at school, get a university degree, and then the rest would follow. So I earned my bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Ottawa in 2013, and then pursued graduate training at the master's and PhD level here at home at the University of Windsor in order to land my dream career, helping people as a clinical psychologist. So now I'm a newly licensed clinical neuropsychologist who is finally finishing up the 12-year journey of post-secondary education and training at the age of 30. But in the fall, I will begin my career as a neuropsychologist, helping children and youth in my home community to better understand their cognitive, behavioral, and emotional functioning. But despite all this education and the privilege that comes with it, I have been priced out of the housing market here in my home region. I moved back to my hometown of Bell River in the riding of Essex in December of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, after paying exorbitant rent in Toronto while I completed nearly 3 years of residency and postdoctoral fellowship training at Toronto hospitals. Importantly, despite being employed full-time during these years, I was paid just a little over minimum wage as I was still considered to be in training. And so this meant that my Toronto rent was costing me nearly 50% of my net income on top of all the other bills and the living costs. And this was unsustainable, especially in the pandemic, so we decided to move home. Essex has always had a reputation for being an affordable region to purchase a home. And although that is still technically the case compared to other regions in Ontario and across Canada, it has recently seen a sharp increase, as Tracey mentioned, with housing prices up more than 30% just since the start of the pandemic. And they were already increasing well before then. The average home price has skyrocketed under Justin Trudeau's government, more than doubling in 6 years. Similar inflation has also occurred with the local rental market, such that many people that I'm aware of can no longer afford to move to a new rental property because their rent will increase, or even move out of their parents' home if they want to sort of branch off and be independent. So in my case, this means that, despite having a PhD and being 30, I'm back renting off my parents temporarily while we save enough money to compete in this inflated real estate market. I knew that paying rent for our own place would make it nearly impossible to save for a down payment to purchase our own home. So it made the most sense to move back into my parents' basement for the time being. And I recognize that even having that as an option is a significant privilege that many people in Essex and across Canada are not afforded. Current first-time home buyers, like my husband and I, need to now save more money than ever before just for that initial down payment, but are also competing with skyrocketing prices and bidding wars of sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking price. It's honestly so disheartening, and I know that I'm privileged in so many ways. And with my career about to begin, I know that eventually I will be able to get into this housing market, but that's not a reality for so many families, and especially for young people. And so this is unsustainable for everyone, especially with stagnant wages and ballooning student debt, which is something else that I understand quite well. I was fortunate enough to have a lot of financial support in my undergraduate years. However, my family could not afford to give me that same support during graduate school. And so now, on top of the housing market, I owe tens of thousands of dollars in OSAP debt, just like many students across the country. And although this was a sacrifice that I was willing to make in order to reach my dream career, it serves as a barrier just to even enter post-secondary education to so many. As a university student for a decade, I watched tuition prices climb thousands of dollars across that time, while wages in those careers that demand a university education essentially stayed the same. Many young people cannot even access post-secondary university education if they come from poverty, or if they do, they must saddle themselves with mountains of debt to do so, just to be seen as competitive for well-paying careers. And so together, like, this affordability crisis is leaving young people behind, especially. And for the first time, my generation will have less wealth than our parents did. And so we desperately need a federal government and local representatives here in Windsor, Essex, that will fight for affordable housing in terms of both rent as well as home ownership before this crisis gets further out of control. And so that's why I'm here today to tell my story about this. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O'Brien. And like I said before, your story is a story of so many young professionals who did everything right, got the education, got the degree, got a good job, and still can't find a home that's in their budget. So we are absolutely committed to fixing this. While Justin Trudeau has made a lot of announcements and done a lot for show, it really hasn't improved people's lives. In fact, amongst all OECD countries, Canada is performing the worst when it comes to affordability. The housing prices have gone up the highest among other countries. So clearly Justin Trudeau hasn't made this a priority. New Democrats will. And one of the big things we want to do, one of our major priorities, is getting big money out of housing. Right now, as you alluded to, a lot of Canadians are competing with large corporations to buy their first home. They're competing with big money, and it shouldn't be that way. So what we want to do is tackle some of the speculative forces that are driving up the cost of housing. We want to get the big money out of housing by putting a tax on foreign ownership. We know that a lot of foreign investors look at Canada's housing market as a stock market. Let's put our money there, it's safe, and watch it grow. We want to end that. We also know that money laundering and other illegal activities are also driving up the cost of housing, as they're using those funds to drive up housing prices as a way to shield and hide their wealth. We want to tackle that by using FinTrack more effectively to tackle that money laundering and other illegal activities that are driving up the cost of housing. We also want to build by investing seriously and significantly to build 500,000 new homes that are within people's budget. And as Dr. O'Brien mentioned, we actually want to make sure that this housing is both homes that people can own and options to rent that are not going to take up half of someone's earnings. That should never be the way. So we can do this. We are confident we can make this happen. If you elect more New Democrats, you'll have someone on your side willing to fight for you, willing to take on that big money that's driving up the cost of housing and invest significantly and seriously in building those affordable homes that people need and deserve. And so once again, thank you so much, Dr. O'Brien, for being here. I want to thank our incredible candidate, Tracey Ramsey, candidate for Essex, And with that, I want to welcome the media to ask any questions they might have. So I'll pass the mic to Melanie Richer now.
Thank you. If you have a question, please use the raise your hand function and we will give you the speaking power. Thank you, merci. That concludes our press conference.
Thanks so much once again, Dr. O'Brien. Really appreciate you being here. Thanks for sharing your story. And Tracey, look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much. Take care, okay?
Thank you.
Bye.